Our fifth playoff Blitz edition divisional game preview of the Oranges, Orange Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Aligned Health Center. Aligned Health Center was with us all last year and has come on board as a special presenting sponsor all playoffs long. No matter how far the Browns go, they're with us till the end. Aligned Health Center is the first chiropractic biophysics clinic in Northern Ohio. The team at Aligned Health Center helps patients with back pain, neck pain, migraines, ADHD, digestive issues, sleep disturbance, whiplash, scoliosis, and much more. And along with chiropractic biophysics, Aligned Health Center is also the leading clinic in regenerative medicine. You may have heard it as stem cell injections. And listen, you don't have to be an NFL player to get it done or have this treatment. If you have lower back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, even arthritis, check out the Regenerative Medicine Clinic at Aligned Health Center. Come in for a free consultation, get some imaging done and x-rays to see how Aligned Health Center can help you. No multiple shots, and everything's complete with physical therapy built into the process, so there's no downtime. And it gets even better. Aligned Health Center doesn't charge people for x-rays or exams, and they won't bill you later. They let you know right away, right up front, how much it is. They are 100% transparent. They are number one for a reason, but don't take our word for it. Here's what former punter Dave Zastudel has to say about Aligned Health Center.
This is Dave Zastudel, former Cleveland Browns punter and big fan of the doctors and staff at Aligned Health Center. I want to say good luck to the Orange and Brown, and please go check out my friends at AlignedHealthCenters.com. They sure helped me after my playing career was over. Go Browns!
So call Aligned Health Center today at 440-385-7357 or visit their website at AlignedHealthCenters.com to make an appointment and to learn more about how Aligned Health Center can help you. Again, that's 440-385-7357 or visit AlignedHealthCenters.com. In this episode, Jeremy and I welcome News Channel 3's and friend of the show, Jay Crawford, to catch his hot takes on the Urban Myer hiring and this special Browns season. He also sticks around to help us preview the Browns-Chiefs divisional playoff game and offers us some bold predictions. It's a ton of fun. Jay is simply the best. Jim Donovan, take us away.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, can't block! They blocked the kick!
This is the Oranges, Orange Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, what's up, my man?
Chase, what's up? Back at it, one day closer to this big-time Browns playoff game in this incredible season. Can't wait to get at it with one of our favorite guests here, Chase.
That's right, one of our absolute favorite guests, Jay Crawford. Thanks for coming on the show again. I really appreciate it.
Good to be here, Chase. Why can't I see Jeremy? Is he just audio only?
Yeah, no, I bounce back and forth because I got notes on my phone. There
he is. All right, bro. All right, very good.
Good to see you.
Very good. Very good to see you, Jeremy. Very good to see you.
Let's just jump right in. So the breaking news tonight, Jay, is Urban Myer, before we get to the Brown stuff, Myer hired as coach as the Jacksonville Jaguars. We all love her. We're all, big fans. I hear you have some thoughts on that. What do you think about it?
Well, it's interesting because Ohio State fans, when Urban came back after his medical absence, were thrilled to get one of the best college coaches in the game at the time. But Florida fans were furious because, as you remember, just 2 years earlier, he left the University of Florida with heart concerns. And he thought it would be best if he stepped away from his coaching duties. So their loss was our gain, and we love that. So when he stepped away from the game in 2018, citing migraines or health concerns, I was very skeptical at the time. I said immediately, he'll be back. He's mad that Ohio State sort of rolled on him. They didn't have his back at a time when he felt they should have. And I think he left Ohio State because he was not very happy with the way things had gone with the investigation. So now 2 years later, he's been out of the game. First time around, he came to work at ESPN. So I got to work with him when he was in his first hiatus. This last time he went to Fox, he told me he loved it there. He's having a great time, but I knew he would be back. Not at all surprised. And I think the irony here is, and now the fun story to watch from here is going to be, will he draft Justin Fields number one? Because we know they need a quarterback, or will he take the Clemson kid? So it's going to be really interesting. I think it'd be cool to see Urban and Justin Fields reunited again. I mean, obviously Urban recruited him to Ohio State. So good for Urban Myer. I'm glad to see him back in coaching. And I'm very interested to see how he can do in the NFL ranks. As we know, more coaches have failed than have succeeded going from college football to the NFL. Going way back, you guys won't remember this. Lou Holtz tried it and failed miserably with the Jets. Pete Carroll, in his first try with the Patriots, had a little bit of success, but not nearly as much as he had in the second time around going to Seattle. And Steve Spurrier flamed out miserably. Nick Saban, who most will tell you is the greatest coach ever in the history of college football and now has the 7 rings to prove it, was not a good coach at the NFL level. So
the Oregon coach, Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly flamed out miserably. So we'll see.
Let me say this. I think we need to put an asterisk.
Jimmy Johnson did it.
Yes, Jimmy Johnson. I think we need to put an asterisk by Nick Saban, though. If you remember, Nick Saban wanted Drew Brees as his quarterback.
He did. No,
the Dolphins failed him his physical, and he ends up with the Saints, and the rest is history. Just think about that, Jay.
Yeah, I know. Look, what might have been
history of what might have been.
Look,
we could be talking a completely different discussion.
Alabama might have been the Alabama before Nick Saban. Remember, they went through a real rough stretch, and it was miserable for Bama fans to see LSU win a national championship. And when they had the opportunity to steal them away from the Dolphins, they didn't hesitate. You know what? We'll never know how he would have done with Miami if he had Drew Brees, because he didn't. So the fact of the matter is his record. But look, a lot of guys have a hard time making that transition for a lot of reasons. Number one, most of these guys at the collegiate level, and Urban would fall into this camp, are rah-rah guys. You know, they give those fire and brimstone speeches. They may work for 21-year-olds, but you're dealing with grown-ass men in the NFL. And some of them are motivated differently than others. They're paid, number one. Not to say that fire and brimstone speeches can't work. Look, Pete Carroll is still a cheerleading type coach, and his guys respond very well to that in Seattle. So I think it's very important that you get the kind of players that will respond to that kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields is one of those players. You know, he likes to have his head coach behind him. And the rah-rah speeches can work with certain players. So I'm not saying that. And look, Urban's a fantastic coach. I'm thrilled to see what he can do. Mm-hmm. And if I had to pick right now, success or failure, I'm not going to bet against Urban Myer.
Right. Football in general is better when Urban Meyer is involved.
Absolutely.
And whether you love him
100%
or love to hate him, it's just better. And it does create a little intrigue at the first pick of the draft. What is he going to do, Jay? What's your gut telling you? Is he going to stick with what
I think he goes Fields. I don't think he goes Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he goes for Trevor Lawrence. I don't. I think that Urban is a guy that I think one of the things that makes Urban work is he's loyal to his guys, and his guys in turn are loyal to them. What would it look like if he has the chance to take Justin Fields? I wish Justin would have played better in the title game, because it creates a more of a narrative that he doesn't go with Justin Fields, that he goes with Trevor Lawrence. But look, those two teams played head-to-head in the semifinals, and Justin Fields made Trevor Lawrence look simple. So,
I agree.
Look, we know what Justin Fields can do. The Northwestern game was horrible for him, and obviously the Alabama game was not his best look.
Sermon going out didn't help anything at all.
No, Sermon killed him. Look, the game plan was 100% built around Ohio State running the football. And once Sermon went out, I gave Ohio State a small chance of winning. But as soon as Sermon went out on the first play, I said, there it goes. They cannot win, because as much as we'd like to think that, that Master T could come in and do the same things that Trey Sermon was doing, not as dynamic. Trey Sermon was the hot hand. He was absolutely on a roll. What a shame. I don't know if either of you guys read the article in Sports Illustrated about Sermon and his upbringing and his family. It's a tremendous piece. I strongly recommend it. I was pulling for him so hard, and he's still going to be drafted. His stock probably took a hit, but I really hope the kid succeeds at the next level. And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen for him and how things are going to play. But you know what? What's nice about this is, as a Browns fan, I tend to focus strictly on the Browns, and then there are other storylines around the league that I follow. I worked in Tampa Bay for 5 years, so obviously I've got a connection to the Buccaneers. So this year my secondary team was the Bucs. If the Browns were playing at 4 or there was another game on after the Browns were done and I could find the Bucs, I would watch them because I've always had a rooting interest in them as my second team. I was there the year they won the Super Bowl, and I wanted to see what Tom Brady was going to do with the Buccaneers. On that note, and this is true because I have a text chain to prove it. Before the season began, I told my Patriots friend that Tampa Bay is going 11-5 and New England's going 5-11, and we will settle once and for all the debate which is more important, quarterback or coach. And I know New England won 7 games, I think. I don't know if they won their 8th game. I think they won 7.
7.
I wasn't far off though, because I got the Bucs right on the money at 11-5, and I figured the Patriots were going to really struggle, and they did.
One final note on Urban, and then we're going to jump to the Browns.
Okay.
So it seems like Urban kind of picks his spots. He wasn't really shy about his love for Notre Dame. I think he was trying to see maybe how that worked out, but he picked the perfect time to jump in the NFL. The first pick, a lot of intrigue. Now my mind goes to draft day, right? Is he going to trade and then trade back up? Like he really has a lot of options here, which is going to be really exciting to kind of see what he does.
One thing, Chase, that he might do, and I thought about this earlier today, he knows it might be a reach to get Chase or to get Justin Fields at number 1. So what you might see is him work a trade to go down to the middle of the first round, maybe somewhere 10 to 16, where he thinks Justin will still be available. If he's concerned, if he's convinced that he's his guy, but he doesn't want to overreach and take him at 1. They can orchestrate a trade where he maybe adds a few extra picks, gives the 1 to a team that desperately needs a quarterback, and we know there are a number of teams out there that do. He can trade down, still live in that 10 to 16 range, still pick Justin lower in the draft, but also have more draft currency, maybe a 2nd or a 3rd round pick that he might be able to add in some kind of trade to give up that number 1 pick. It's going to be fun to watch. And guys, the beauty of it is it's all going to unfold in Cleveland. Yeah. So, I mean, the high drama surrounding all of this, you couldn't have written a better script. And I'm glad he's back in the game. Yeah. I think he has a chance to do something big in Jacksonville. And by the way, how oddly weird now for Florida fans that live in the northern part of the state. Gainesville and Jacksonville are both up there in that northern half. Mm-hmm. Many of the folks that root for Jacksonville are also Florida Gator fans. And I working down there, I have many friends in Florida. They swore off Urban. When Urban Myer came back to coach at Ohio State, I must have heard from 150 Florida Gator fans that day. Yeah. People saying, he's dead to us. Mm-hmm. We hate him. He wasn't sick. Heart ailment, everybody was. So now, how oddly weird that for those same Florida Gator fans that are rooting for Jacksonville, now they have them back, but only with their pro team.
Cleveland is well versed in taking back people that had that have stabbed them in the heart. So it takes a couple of victories and all of a sudden
they'll be over it.
Winning
be over it
cures everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But one thing we know about NFL drafts, quarterback stock always rise higher than you think. And so, he might not want to get too cute going too far down the middle because there's always quarterbacks. People always overvalue quarterbacks.
Overdraft,
yep, absolutely.
And so we'll see what happens. Hey, let's talk about the Browns divisional playoffs, Jay. Oh my
Unbelievable.
goodness.
I can't believe we're talking about that.
I know. One of the things that we've done like a playoff blitz, and we have to ask you, when did you know this season was special, Jay? When did you realize, this is going to be different?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Before the Tennessee game, I was kind of on the this is fool's gold train. When you look at their victories and who they beat, we didn't have a signature win. We really didn't until the Tennessee game. And even the Cowboys game, that Dak was there, but we knew that Dallas was already a bad team by that point. You jump out to this huge 31-7 halftime lead. Then you give up 24 third quarter points.
Yes.
And they have to have an interception late to seal the win. I just kept looking at this team saying, we're a product of a very, very, very soft schedule. And then the Tennessee game happened, and I had to start to rethink that because I had also been saying from jump that we were a run team. drop this fascination with thinking that we're a throwing team because we've got the best tandem of backs in the NFL. Why are we throwing it in the case of the Jets game 53 times and handing it off 17? That's absurd. And so in the Tennessee game, we're slinging the ball all over the field, and Baker looks like Dan Fouts. And I'm sitting here going, wow, okay, this is meaningful for two reasons. Number one, it's building his confidence. You could see he was dripping with confidence. And in the first half of the season, the Baker Mayfield we saw was closer to the one we saw last year than the one we saw in his rookie season.
Shell-shocked, PTSD. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
waiting for a bad thing to happen. Well, all of a sudden, after the Tennessee game, he's like Barney Fife making a big arrest, man. He's like, I'm the king, and this is my castle.
And I think that started in Cincy.
That was big.
Yeah, I think
it did start in Cincy, but I think it was driven home in the Tennessee game because he was doing it against a quality football team that was almost a Super Bowl team the year before. I mean, let's think about this. If the Titans don't completely do Browns-like things in the second half against the Chiefs, they're in the Super Bowl and they're likely the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
So this is a quality outfit, and the Browns went in there and they made a definitive statement, particularly in the first half. I mean, if you think about it, guys, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Steelers game last week were carbon copies of one another.
I've said this 5 times.
Scores.
Yep.
Yeah, look at the box scores. We were up 31-7 at halftime against Dallas, and we won 49-38.
38, yep.
In Cleveland, against Pittsburgh, we were up 35-10 at halftime. So it was a 24-point lead instead of a 25-point lead that we had against the Steelers, 24-point lead at halftime against the Titans. And the Titans' final score, or the Steelers' final score, was 48-37. It was just a point less for each team than the Titans game. And that they had that huge third quarter collapse. The Browns had 2 drives, 3 and out, total time of possession, like 2 minutes against the Steelers. And I'm literally looking at this going, this is literally, I'm looking at the Cowboys game again.
Yep.
And so if somehow the Titans don't do that last year against the Chiefs, they're the Super Bowl champs. And so for Baker and the Browns to do to them what they did, I think it reinstilled that rookie season confidence and belief in Baker Mayfield that he can do this against a good team at the highest level. And that's the sheriff we've seen from that point on, with the exception of that weird hiccup at the Jets.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's water under the bridge now. But I think for me, that's when I became an absolute believer.
Yeah. So
let me take this one step further. You know, we talk about the Browns now have put up more than 40 points against the Titans, the Ravens, and the Steelers. 3 playoff teams and 3 playoff teams that have infinitely better defenses than the Chiefs. So going into this game, Baker has to be ultra confident. Look, he's looking at this. We have put those kind of points. We have put up these kind of numbers on 3 defenses that are better than the one we're playing this week. I just can't imagine how good that Baker and that unit feels going into this game.
Well, that's a great point, but I will say this. We have to put up – see, we did that by throwing the ball. And a lot of those scores were touchdowns, and a lot of those touchdown drives were under 3 minutes. Go look at the box scores. They were 6 plays, 2 minutes, 45 seconds, 75 yards. You can't do that with Kansas City. You just can't do it. Right. You're not going to beat them by putting up big play after big play because they've got the captain big play in the NFL on their side, and they've got the best core receivers. So the way you're going to have to do it is 12 plays, 81 yards, 7 minutes and 45 seconds. If you do that, Patrick's on the sideline getting out of his rhythm. So when you go score for score with them, he's off the field for a total clock time, maybe 5-6 minutes, game time 2 or 3 minutes. He just comes back and he's just like he picks up right where he left off, and he's going to match you big drive for big drive. The way you stymie their offense is to get that opening drive, 12 plays, 80 yards, 7.5 minutes, and then get a 3 and out. Yeah. So he's got 3 plays under his belt, and then you do it again, 80 yards, 6.5 minutes. Before you know it, we're in the second quarter and Patrick's played 3 plays and he's watched your offense churn out first down after first down. Now, the good news is we've got the personnel to do that. We have Chubb and Hunt, for crying out loud. And if there's ever been a player motivated to beat his former team, it's Kareem Hunt, because you and I can sit here and argue till the cows come home whether or not the Chiefs were justified in releasing him. Most of us would probably say, yeah, they did the only thing they could have done. But that doesn't matter to Kareem Hunt. The fact of the matter is they did it to him, and he missed out on a Super Bowl because of it. So this is his chance to try to get back to the game that he missed because they let him go. And he has a chance to do it at Kansas City. I think it's a perfect storm for him.
Jay,
let me add something else to that point real quick. Because Cleveland Browns Daily went over this today, okay? You're exactly right, Jay. They've only lost 9 games, the Chiefs have, with Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. In 6 of those games, the opponent had the ball for 35 minutes or more.
Yeah, I looked at that.
In all 6 of those games, the other team had a running back that rushed for at least 140 yards.
Yeah,
so
that's
right
the key
there
to
is your blueprint. And you know what's funny is the Browns don't say much. They are a smart organization now.
I know
they do not give much. But Alex Van Pelt today did say, and this is the first I've heard someone say this kind of thing in one of these pressers with the Browns this year, that they are definitely going to need to control the ball, and it is going to be they're going to manage how they can score more. You know, a lot of times Stefanski just says, we just need to score. We need to score. My goal is to put up more points than them. Van Pelt said today, look, we are going to need to take some time off the clock and score and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Look,
that's a no-brainer. You have to do it.
I hear you guys, and it makes sense, and that's like the analytics would maybe want you to lean towards, but that was what we said against Tennessee. Oh, we're going to keep Henry off the field when we're not going to give him the ball. That's what we said against Baltimore Monday night. And that's what we said last week against Pittsburgh. Keep that high octane offense off the field. And
let me show you the big difference though, Chase. The big difference there is Tennessee's horse is what?
Running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
He's a running back. When you're down 3 touchdowns, that you've neutralized their horse.
Yep.
And what the Browns did by talking about, getting up early, like I mentioned, long sustained drive, and then you grind on that first possession of 3. You need to treat that possession like it's 1 minute to go in the game and they need to score to win.
Yeah.
You need to get them 3 and out in that first possession. Why is that so important? Because now it gives you a chance to double them up. In Tennessee, it was critical that they kept their run game out of the mix. And they did that by scoring. Next thing you know, you're looking at a Tennessee team that has to now have Tannehill beat you. He's capable of doing that, but that's not their first and best option. That their first and best option is Derrick Henry. Yeah. And he is meaningless when it's 31-7. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that they'll get up that big on the Chiefs, but last year when the Titans did that to the Chiefs and they were up 24-0 or whatever it was before the seats were warm, I was never worried because Kansas City can score. They can do 80 yards. Here's a famous saying that I've heard before. And I was saying this to the folks that I was watching the game with on Sunday. I said, look, I'm not comfortable until it's 55-0. And you know why? Because it takes 10 seconds to run 100 yards. You know what I mean? When you think about that, and especially for a team like Kansas City, they've got not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 receivers that can take the top off of defense. They can get behind even if the Browns are going to do what they did against Pittsburgh and say, dink us all you want short underneath, you're not getting over the top on us. Not a bad strategy. It worked. It was very nerve-wracking in the third quarter. But for Kansas City, they're built to come back from 24-0 because they do it with their passing game. So when they were 24-0, nobody panicked in that organization. Patrick Mahomes didn't panic. Andy Reid certainly didn't panic. And
in the previous game, they'd come back already from that.
Absolutely. So they knew they could do it. So I think one of the worst things that could happen to the Browns is if they go up 24-0 and go into that prevent defense, I think that's a recipe for disaster because Kansas City will.
Boom.
Here's the way I would approach this. And I've always said, I'm not a football coach. I just act like I know what I'm talking about. In reality, I don't. I could never do what they do. It's so, guys, we think we know, but to quote, one of my favorite sound bites of all time was when the Saints' old coach, Mora, Jim Mora, he was really ticked at the media. And in a post-game news conference, he was like, you can Google it. It's famous. He's like, you know what? You guys think you know, but you don't know. And you'll never know. And he just kept repeating that mantra. He just kept repeating it over and over and over again. It was great TV. YouTube it. Mora.
Great sound bites as well.
You think you know. But see, so what I'm saying is it's so much over our head. We don't really know. But what I would say there is I've always said if I was a coach, this would be my mission statement. I will approach each and every offensive possession as if we are down by 7 points with 2 minutes to go. I will approach every single defensive stand as if we are up 7 points with 2 minutes to go. If you do that, you instill that immediate sense of urgency that the Browns have not played with in the third quarter of games this year.
No, and I hear you, and I totally agree, but every time I feel like we say, oh, this is what they got to do, it just doesn't seem to happen. I hope that they do this game. They do run the ball and they look to keep them off because Mahomes is a different animal, and the Chiefs, they have the
31st in the league against the run. And they're 31st in the league against the run. And then they're the worst team, and they're the worst defense in the league in the red zone. So the Browns have to run the ball and score touchdowns in the red zone.
Let me I don't want to rain on that stat, but I sometimes numbers are completely misleading. And here's why I would say that one is misleading.
Okay.
In most games that the Chiefs have played this year, would you say they've played with a lead or from behind?
14-2. Yeah.
They're always playing with a lead. And typically it's not just a 3 or a 7 point lead.
Right.
It's a 14 or a 21 point lead.
Good point.
And when you're down 21, what do?
You're not running.
You don't run.
Right.
You don't run. So that's why, you got to be careful when you look at numbers like that, because sometimes the situation of the game dictates that you just can't run. It's foolish to run. So fewer, I imagine if you look at total plays against the Saints, pass to run, I imagine it would be heavily on the pass play than the run play. I don't know that. I haven't looked at that specific number, but I would bet that the majority of the plays run against the Chiefs this year have been passes out of necessity because most teams are trailing and they're desperate. And they know coming in against Kansas City. Here's the thing. With Pittsburgh, you could say we can just go toe-to-toe and throw blows. Because with Pittsburgh, you know that they do have red zone struggles and they don't have a good run game. So they're going to kick field goals. With Kansas City, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Is Solaire playing this week?
What's funny?
The rookie from LSU?
Yeah, he practiced yesterday, but then he was out completely today. He was a DNP today.
Okay, that's interesting.
Him and Sammy Watkins. Sammy hadn't practiced at all this week yet. Hilaire practiced yesterday and then didn't today.
Well, I think the running back is the key, because if he's not there, I think that makes him. And I know they have a nice backup, and I know they can still run the ball.
Le'Veon Bell.
But his better days are behind him, I think.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they're already heavily rely on the passing game, but if the running back isn't there and Bell isn't getting on track, then I think it becomes a really interesting scenario, because it's, even if you're old, like been through it 67 or whatever times, he had to. They were down big. I don't know that that's going to be the scenario with the Chiefs. But you can't go into this one thinking two heavyweights, middle of the ring, throwing blows, because you knew the Steelers were going to end up having to kick some field goals. I don't know that the Chiefs will. If the running back is there and they get in that red zone and the passing yards kind of shrink down as the field does, it's imperative that you have a run game. And if they don't have that run game, then maybe you force them to kick field goals. I'll make a prediction, guys. Normally, I say the team that wins the turnover battle wins the game. That's true 90% of the time. It almost always is true. That's why betting on the NFL is so hard. You can't rely on turnovers. Those are fluky plays that happen. Some teams are better than others at forcing them, but you can't always rely on turnovers. When you do, it's going to kill you. So normally I say whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win. I'll say that the team that ends up attempting the most field goals will lose the game.
Well, we know from the Chargers game, the Chiefs have a pretty reliable kicker. It just happens who can hit some field goals. So we'll see. Jay, You're so good at this. We were going to do a segment called Coach's Whiteboard where we ask you to write one phrase for the team, but you already hit it. You already got it.
Yeah,
I
nailed
it, man. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and come back and preview this game and give some bold predictions real quick.
All right, great.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
I'm Dennis Maniloff, co-host along with the roadman Kenny Rhoda of the Next Man Up podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Roadman and I do a deep dive into Browns, Indians, Cavs, Ohio State, and anything else that's on the sports fan's mind.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Aaron Shipe, co-host of the Tim and Shipe Show. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we love talking college football. We talk everything from Florida Gators to the Ohio State Buckeyes. If you like college football, check us out. Thanks.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Using a narrative storytelling approach, the Hyman Podcast was created to start conversations that need to be human. Week by week, I'll break down walls and barriers and make people wildly uncomfortable, all the while giving a voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. Consider this your personal invitation to be part of that conversation.
All right, we're back. We are back with Jay Crawford. Jay, this is just so much fun. We spent some time talking about Urban and just kind of the game at large. Just kind of go a little bit of the nitty gritty. Sunday, 3:05 kickoff, Nance and Romo on the call. Now, usually we haven't had good luck with Nance and Romo, the Browns. I don't think they've called a good game for us yet. So hopefully this is.
Well, wait, didn't they have the Cowboys game or not?
No, that was on.
No, they didn't have the. Well, they had the first Steeler game.
That would have.
Yeah, they had the right. It was on Fox. They had the first Steeler game when we lost 38-6. And remember, Nance has adopted the Browns as his team.
I know he has
because he married a girl from around here. So he wants the Browns to be good so bad. So know, coming into this game, he'll be a professional because he's the best there is. But he's pulling for the Browns.
I would think deep inside he is.
They also were on the call with the first game 2 seasons ago with Kitchens with the Titans, the Browns Titans. Because I was
at that game, so I didn't see it on TV.
I was as well.
Well, it was a rough listen. Let me tell you. Oh, man,
it was even worse in person, bro. I left there. I normally, and my glass is always half full. I left there and I told my brother and one of our friends that they actually came up from Nashville. They live there, but they're huge Browns fans. We were leaving the stadium and I said, guys, this is going to sound like hyperbole and prisoner of the moment, Skip Bayless nonsense, but I'm going to say it anyhow. Our season's over.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, come on, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? It's one game. It's one game. And no, listen, I saw today the worst possible thing you can see in a football team, and that's a white flag. Yep. And when a team surrenders, that's in their DNA. That's who they are. That's in their character. And that means they're going to quit in the micro and they're going to quit in the macro. Yep. And so once this season gets away, and I knew it would early with our tough schedule, I said, they're going to check out and we will not be a 500 team this year. And they gave me all kinds of grief. And normally I never make snap judgments like that. But what I saw last year on opening day against Tennessee and what we're seeing out of this team and this organization now is 180-degree difference. It's completely different.
Without a coach. I mean, last year with no discipline, there was
no practice. Practice. Handicap any team in the league. Take 3 starting linemen out of the game. You get no practice.
For 2 weeks, no practice for 2 weeks.
2 weeks for no practice. And they go out there and they look incredible with no practice.
Amazing.
Unreal.
Well, Jay, the headline of this, other than the Browns being in the game, is the battle of the quarterbacks, right? We saw Baker and Mahomes go at it in college. They've gone at each other once in the regular season. Last year, the Chiefs spanked us. It was 2 years ago. Was it two?
Yep.
2 years ago. It wasn't. I mean, I think it was 37-21. It was
a decent game.
It wasn't horrible, but they clearly were never in jeopardy of losing the game. What was funny about that game was Kelsey had their 2 touchdowns and Hunt had 2 touchdowns. That was all their touchdowns, and they were scored by Cleveland guys.
And Kareem had 150 people in attendance. Remember that? There was
an
entire Kareem Hunt section at that game.
Well, I hope he takes 150 Clevelanders to Kansas City Sunday.
Right.
Yep.
So this is one of the leads of the game, which is a lot of fun. They had a shootout in college, and
66-59.
And Vegas now doesn't really think it's going to be a shootout. The over-under is only 57. Jay, that seems a little
That's
low.
stealing. Nope, that's stealing. Take the over. Take the over and don't even turn on the TV set. And you're winning. And you'll talk about this next week. You'll say, Crawford told us this game was going over. That is, normally I look at Vegas and I'm like, God, they're so smart. They always figure it out. Not this time. This game's going over.
Jeremy, do you know the line?
No, I'm going to say I haven't looked because I'm not supposed to for this segment.
Right.
I'm going to say Chiefs 7.5.
Jay, you wince. You know the line?
No, I don't know the line, but I would say if it's not double digits, it's close. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. But I would say that's a little deceiving because I read somewhere last week that the playoff home field advantage, which is typically 3, is now down to 1 in the eyes of the odds makers. And
that
listen,
makes it worse.
Yeah, I know. But
what is it, Chase? 10.5? What is it?
It's -10. Chiefs -10.
10.
Yeah, I figured it'd be close to double digits. But this is why the best play of the year might be the Browns and the over. And now just follow me.
Let's go.
I'm going to make a definitive statement that no one can argue with. This is absolutely provably true. In the history of the NFL, I talked to so many players through the years. Tell me the one place that you hated to play. Whether it's baseball, football, basketball, hockey, I love asking guys that.
Arrowhead.
Guys always have said Arrowhead. Now, in the last decade, I've had a lot of guys say, Seattle sucks, man. You can't even hear yourself think. So Seattle is also right there with Kansas City. But Kansas City is, in my view, has the best home field advantage in the NFL. Never before and never after will there ever be less of a home field advantage for the Chiefs.
Ever. And that's last week against Pittsburgh. That place is usually rocking with those dumb towels. There was nothing.
Oh, yeah. Once they got it down to 12 last week.
We stopped their momentum twice. If that place was filled with 68,000 swinging the towels, there's no way we stopped that momentum 2 different times.
I agree 100%.
It happened because the stadium was empty. Now, I know Kansas City won't be empty. I guess they're going to have 16,000 fans.
16, exactly, yep.
But we had a guy on What's New yesterday on Channel 3 that said 48% of those tickets have gone to Browns fans and 52% of those tickets have gone to Chiefs fans. So, guys, imagine this. That means if you just do the simple math, there's going to be about 8,200 Chiefs fans and about 7,800 Browns fans in Kansas City for a playoff game. That is unthinkable. It will never happen again. So if you're ever going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home in a playoff game, it will never be any easier than it will be Sunday for the Browns.
If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm selling that ticket and getting double my monies because the Browns fans, they're going to pay a couple thousand to go to
it's
this
like
game.
What I call
Game 7 of the World Series. It's like that. The Cubs fans all came to Cleveland for the World Series.
I've made it a verb. I've called it getting cubbed.
Getting cubbed. That is so
there it is.
You get cubbed when your home fans sell your tickets to overzealous, wealthy visiting team fans that want them more than you do. That's getting cubbed. And we lost a championship because we got cubbed. Wouldn't it be nice to take another huge step?
Great.
Maybe the biggest step towards a championship if we could cub somebody else? Wouldn't
Jay.
that would be great.
Jay, so
That's great.
The Browns money line, which you said take the Browns, take the Browns money line is plus 400. So what that means is you throw $25 down to the Browns, you would win 4 times that amount.
Yes, and I'm telling you, that's a great play. I think that's a great play.
I tweeted out earlier. Well, actually, I think it was right after the Steelers punted at the start of the fourth quarter. I tweeted out, I said, the Chiefs may score 60, because that's when I knew the game was over. And I think the next drive we did the screen for the touchdown. I said, the Chiefs may score 60 on us. We may score 61 on them. So I'm feeling really, really good too about it. I really am.
I think I don't feel nearly as confident about betting the Browns with all those points. I like it. If somebody said right now you have to place this bet, go, I would say, yeah, I'll take those points in the Browns all day. But I'm telling you guys that over is stealing. I just think that's candy from a baby.
All right,
really
Jeremy, you want to give me a bold prediction?
So my bold prediction is that this time they're actually going to do what we think they're going to do. And Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt are going to combine for 200 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns.
I love it. That is bold, sir. Jay, do you, I call Jeremy Jay. Mr. Crawford, do you have a bold prediction for the divisional playoffs for the Browns?
So you don't want to score. You just want something that I believe will happen in the game.
Yeah, just exactly. Something bold that you think might happen.
I believe when the game is hanging in the balance late in the game, that Myles Garrett, who has been, I don't want to call him invisible, but he is clearly suffering from the after effects of coronavirus. I am going to say, because it's been his style in the micro in a game, when you need him to step up the most, backs against the wall, you need something. I'm going to say that in the fourth quarter, when the Browns are feeling desperate and they have to have something happen, that Myles Garrett is going to do something. It's going to be a strip sack fumble recovery. It's going to be he hits Mahomes as he throws and the ball is picked by Taki, taken for the pick, not the pick six. When he takes it for a touchdown, it's a Taki 6. And if that happens, I think that we'll forget about the fact that in these last couple of games, my image of Myles over these last few games is him sort of huffing and puffing and breathing hard. And look, I don't know what he's gone through. I empathize and sympathize with him because I know it's been a rough time for him. But I think that this extra week for him to build his cardio has been important. And I think that when we need it most, when we're feeling like we're out of hope and that we need something big, Myles Garrett will deliver.
That's my concern with Denzel Ward, who's coming back, is just like going to either you can tell he's going to have those effects, whether it's legs or just endurance. I'm not sure. That's my concern with Denzel Ward. Jay?
Yeah, we need him to be big. We need him to play like Denzel Ward.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
need 3 of Denzel Wards, to be honest. I will say this. If we had to play Kansas City without Denzel Ward, I would have almost no hope that we can win. But because we have Denzel Ward on the field, I think the Browns have a chance because of him. Without him, I would give them no chance whatsoever.
Jay,
this isn't Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Jay, you had a point?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's crazy with this virus how some guys come back and it's seamless. It's effortless. It's nothing. It's like it never happened. And then some guys get the lasting effects. I mean, this entire thing has just been unreal.
Yeah.
It's wacky, but to that point, it affects everybody differently. Jack Nicklaus got it and he said, yeah, I had the sniffles for 2 days. Dude's 80, right?
Right.
Then you see a guy like Myles Garrett, who, if you're going to just say, if there was a, I wish my physique looked like anybody button, we'd probably all say, give me that dude's body.
Yeah.
And yet he goes out and, he has clearly struggled more than most. So you just can't predict this kind of thing. It's killed 94% of all the fatalities are over 70 years old. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it can't get you if you're 24. Right. So we don't know how it's going to affect us until you get it. And it's hit Myles a little bit harder than it has for most of these guys. Even Kevin Stefanski, I've seen interviews with him throughout the last week. I would never would have guessed the guy was sick.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And if let's hope Denzel didn't have a rough time with it. And also let's hope that he was able to do bikes and do treadmills and make sure that cardio stays intact, because Miles has been struggling to find that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think we're all going to be yelling and screaming that Miles. I can't believe what Miles just did in the fourth quarter that will save our skin.
Let's go.
Good. My bold prediction is we're going to see Baker outduel Mahomes, and Mahomes is going to throw 4 picks. Another quarterback. I think he's going to 4 picks for Mahomes.
Mahomes protects the ball.
Has he thrown 4 picks all year?
All year, right? I think he's thrown maybe 5. He's very Aaron Rodgers-esque in his protecting of the ball now. So
that's another thing, Jay. When we go bold predictions, I mean, I make sure they're extra spicy.
Look, Chase, it's called bold prediction for a reason. Go big or go home, and you're going big.
That's right. Yeah. Like we had Mike Golick on last night. We told Golick last night, we can make all the crazy predictions we want because we're a fan podcast. No one will ever hold us accountable. We'll say whatever we want.
Right. But here's the beauty of that. If he does throw 4 interceptions, Chase, you're viral.
Boom.
You're viral, bro.
We can't lose on the bold
predictions.
Who
saw that coming? Chase saw
Chase
that coming.
Did.
I did say we beat the Steelers 35-17, but I wasn't close on that. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let's promote some of your stuff, man. That's News Channel 3. Let's talk about it. Where can we watch, hear, listen? Where you at?
I'm on every day, WKYC Channel 3 here in Cleveland at 5 o'clock. If you are outside the Cleveland viewing area, you can always check us out by going to WKYC.com, hit the watch button. We're on from 5 until 6 every day. I write a weekly column for WKYC.com on the Browns. I recap the wins, the losses, the hits, the misses. And I also do a weekly podcast for WKYC. It's called After Further Review. That airs on Monday. It's available all through the week. It lives, obviously, in podcast form. So that's what I'm up to. I do the Browns interviews, a show called Club 46 that runs on Fox Sports Ohio. We've done 2 seasons. It's long form, 1 hour sit-down interviews where we go deep. I had Dennis Northcutt on, was our last guest. And I got to tell you, I interviewed Tony Fernandez after the ball went through his legs or off his glove in Miami in Game 7 when the Indians lost the World Series in '97. And I marveled at how he stood in front of his locker and answered questions until we were out of questions. He fell on the sword. He said, "We lost because I didn't make the play. No one in this room feels worse than I do. They have every right to look at me with disgust, disdain." I couldn't believe, I'd never seen a pro athlete fall harder on the sword. When I interviewed Dennis, guys, remember, our last playoff game was almost 18 years to the day.
Oh, I remember it well.
It was against the Steelers, and it was in Pittsburgh. That's why I called last week's game a mulligan, an 18-year mulligan. And what happened was the Browns were up 27-14 in the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh scores. It's 27-21. Cleveland has it. We're driving. We're chewing clock. We need a first down, and the game is essentially over.
Like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, and we're in Pittsburgh territory. The big thing was it would have put us into field goal range. You kick a field goal there. Now, this was pre-2-point conversion. Now it's a wrap. You're up 30-21, and there's just not enough clock left. Kelly Holcomb puts a 3rd and 10 ball right in the midst of Dennis Northcutt, who had an unbelievable game. It literally was like Ernest Biner's fumble, because Ernest, the Browns aren't in that AFC Championship game against Denver if not for Ernest Biner, and the Browns were not in that game with the Steelers if not for Dennis Northcutt. And he dropped the ball, and we had him on. It was a long interview, and he just kept saying, "There's no excuse. I let my teammates down. I feel terrible, and it's 18 years later, and I still feel terrible. And 18 years from now, I'm still going to feel terrible. I have to be mature and man up and say that there's no excuse. That was a catchable ball. I catch that 99 times out of 100." And I just marveled at how he faced the music, yet he is still a huge Browns fan and loves Browns Nation as much as any of us. So these interviews are fun. They live on the Browns website and their YouTube channel, but they also air throughout the week on Fox Sports Ohio. And what I like about them is they bring back former ones we did even last year. So anyone from Bernie Kosar to Kevin Mack to Webster Slaughter, Doug Deacon, you name it. If they're a big name Browns player of the last 40 years, I did Jim Brown, in fact.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was an incredible interview. And you can find all these. They're on the Browns website, on their YouTube page. The Jim Brown one was one of my favorite interviews of all time. I'd interviewed him many times at ESPN, but he was my dad's favorite player, so I've always had a close connection to him. And he's just such a gracious gentleman. And that was one of my most fun interviews. He's such a smart guy. Even today, he speaks slowly, but he is a brilliant man. And I walked away from the interview with him, guys, thinking, I don't know. I always assumed that his greatness came from his God-given talent. But he had that, but he also had a work ethic and a drive unlike any athlete I think I've probably ever seen. And that's what it takes to be not just great, but the GOAT. And that's why, in my eyes, he'll always be the GOAT. He was given a God-given gift, and he didn't waste it. He put it to incredible use, and he worked tirelessly to make those runs look as easy as he did throughout his 9-year career. There was a lot of work behind the scenes that went into him. So those interviews are fun. Check those out, and they live forever on the Browns website, too.
Sound great. Thank you. Shouts to Aligned Health Center, our presenting sponsor for the Playoff Run and Press Play podcast for making this possible. Jay, thanks for your time. Jeremy, it's always great to talk to you, man. And, hey, enjoy the game on Sunday, fellas.
Take care, guys. Good to see you again.
Let's go Browns, baby. Let's go.
Ooh.